Let's go ahead and get started. Nate, are we ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and call the Park Cemetery Building Committee meeting to order. It's 6:30. The date's February 28, 2024. I'm just going to acknowledge those that are in attendance, just for the record. I'm the chairman, Brad Kahn. Tom Vaughn is present. Andrea Kellogg is present. Nate Troyer is present. Pat Meller is not here. Kelly Hoffey is also present, who is the mayor of Millersburg. I've got an agenda. I want to go through it as quickly as I can, but I do want to have discussion as much as people want to discuss. Primarily, the focus would be on Airport Park. If there's other issues that need to be addressed regarding the other parks, we can do that too. I got the visitor sign in. I wanted to give any visitors an opportunity to speak. Rod, would you like to say anything?
Good for right now.
Okay, Rod. If you at any time want to say anything, you feel free to speak up, okay? I listed the airport park amenities that we currently have in place, and I wanted to go back a couple years ago when Village Council actually met, and there was discussion about whether or not we should proceed forward with revitalization of Airport Park. So what we did is we reached out to the community, and we got a lot of responses from people that lived in the village and outside the village. And I want to say that we had over 30 emails. I thought that was a pretty good response. And I didn't take the time to go over all of those before the meeting. I did back then, but I wanted to kind of touch on some of the highlights that were addressed in some of those emails and try to get some response back from you folks. So one of the comments, I won't mention anybody's name that submitted the email, but this was back on September 9 of 2020, and they wanted to resurface the pickleball courts. They wanted to add benches and picnic tables. Also wanted to improve the basketball court, put a volleyball court up, and put raised flower beds or garden beds down at the park. Also, there was some talk about organization of intramural sports for the adults. So one person indicated that it should be left a natural habitat. And I think that one person that wanted to make it a natural habitat was I think the only person that basically said leave it alone. Everybody else was of the opinion that we should do something with it. One response was, be nice to have a hiking path there. Of course, we've got the trail there. Pickleball courts was brought up again. Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America. I would help run clinics. Thanks for the input, or thanks for allowing me the input. Somebody suggested for the Village of Millersburg and the Holmes County Park District to partner and get together and talk about how we could work together on the airport park. We feel that since the park is there, it should be made functional. We think it will be busy with young people. I also had a response, a person that indicated that she'd be willing to donate graphic art skills in any way that she could help. And I'm going to mention her name because I actually reached out to her a couple days ago. Her name is Leslie Westbrook. She's a graphic artist. And I called her and I said, hey, I read your email that you submitted a couple years ago. And I said, I want to tell you what it said, and we talked about it. And I said, if we're ever at the point where we would like to see like an artist rendition of what the park could look like, would you be willing to, draw something up? And she said she would be. So I said, don't be surprised if I decide to reach out to you. And I'm a visual person. It's one thing to talk about things, but it's better to see a picture of what things could actually look like. So I told her about the meeting today. She's busy. I said, I'll probably reach out to you next week and we'll have a discussion. So that's where I want to begin the conversation. I wanted to hear feedback from people on this committee on what you feel we should be doing down there at the park. I have ideas, and I'll share those ideas here in a bit, but I wanted to hear from you folks.
Was the community garden, was that just part of the meeting we had down there, not part of the replies? When they were
That
talking about-
was actually brought up in one of the emails, Tom, yeah.
So throughout my times of coming to council or listening on the radio, or, I don't always remember exactly where I would hear something of discussion about it. So was it about a year ago that you guys had been approached about redoing the playground equipment down there? And there was some talk maybe about, it was like $30,000, or I know there was some
It was
talk
like
about
125,000.
to redo the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know there was discussion about, concern that the stuff would be vandalized by the children or people of the community or that live in the trailer park. I think I don't know how many kids live in that trailer park, but I think they have as much right to play as somebody that lives in a nice neighborhood. I think it's discriminating to say that, well, the kids in that trailer park, because of the trailer park, shouldn't have access to playground equipment because there might be damage done. Jeff and I ate at East Chicago and we were talking about it, and I mean, would there be ways to put cameras? I mean, we have a police department. So there'd be ways to there's poles down around there. Would there be ways to put cameras? I mean, Killbuck went through stuff for a while. Well, they had things vandalized. I mean, we get people stealing signs in the village.
Clay Street Park was vandalized.
Right, so I don't, that didn't
I
set,
think that wasn't the issue. The
Okay.
issue was the drugs at night.
well, we have a police department
Yeah.
that can
Yeah.
patrol the parks. There's curfews. There's a curfew at the Clay Street Park. There could be the same kind of curfew. I think that park, you've got children, and I've seen the kids playing basketball down there the couple of times it's been warm this winter. I don't think the park, I think that we should try to find whatever funds we can and do whatever we can to keep that park going. And I certainly don't think the kids at the trailer park should be, we've got drug problem in the trailer.
Right.
There's meth coming out of that trailer park. I live in that world. But I don't think that's fair to the children that don't have access to a park
Right.
because we can't keep it safe or keep stuff from being vandalized.
So Andrew, you're of the opinion that, we should do everything that we can to revitalize
Yes.
what's down there and
Yes.
improve it.
It was there for a reason.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
was put there when there was a trailer park. I'm assuming it was put there when there was a trailer park there. It was put there for
Andrew,
a
I was
reason.
down there last Sunday, Monday, and there were 5 kids down there playing, just shooting basketball, having a good time. And I was a little reluctant to go up there and talk to them, but I was kind of walking around. I thought, well, I'm just going to kind of walk over that way. And I introduced myself to them, and one of the kids said, "We're not supposed to talk to strangers." I said, "Well, that's true."
Yeah,
Good answer.
And,
good answer, yeah.
And I proceeded with a question of, what would you kids love to see down here? And the first thing they said was trampolines.
Yeah,
Just a typical response
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the age that I was
Yeah.
talking.
yeah.
And, they liked the playground and the basketball hoops. They didn't
Yeah.
really care about anything else. So, but that was just kind of a fun 15-minute discussion that I had with the kids. And it doesn't matter where there is a park there's always that concern about vandalism.
Absolutely.
There's always
It can
gonna be
happen
that
it can
concern.
happen in next to a nice neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't mean that they're just gonna go to that, if they're gonna be vandalism, it doesn't necessarily just mean it's the people that live in that area, they're
Absolutely.
gonna come in. I have a question, I just thought of it. So, you know, all the talk about, and I don't know how quick it could all be done, but you're gonna have elementary schools closing up. Is any of that equipment on those playgrounds gonna be made available to purchase, or to, you know, will they be,
I don't know.
That
That's a
would
good
be-
idea.
okay? That would be maybe a way to get some stuff for cheap.
I have my feeling that like Lakeville, Nashville, Killbuck, they're gonna end up in the community and they'll be community parks with the equipment.
Are all those communities buying their schools?
I think they better donate them for $1 to the community, because they paid taxes since the 1800s. That's my feeling. I mean, I will fight that one till the end.
It's a good point, Andrea.
Okay.
And I mean, we don't have the answers to
No.
that. I hope that soon we'll have a better idea on direction on that, so.
But it could be a way to not have to spend a lot, and there may be
Absolutely.
ways that, until you ask, you just don't, I mean, I know that, I don't know about grant money available or something like that, but, sometimes businesses will help donate to do something like that. I remember when Nashville, I don't know if ever, I mean, I don't know how they raised all the money for Nashville's elementary, but I remember when they redid all that. And you might get people who'll donate the mulch, and they donated the mulch for around the trees. So you just don't know what people will do. What that place down there that builds the stuff when it gets towards the end of their season, because, you know, what they might be willing to, and you know me, I'm willing to go talk to anybody, so all you gotta do is say, hey, you go talk to these people, and I'll try to, you know, see.
Well, I want to go around the table. I want to touch on that, Andrea. I'll
Okay.
get to that in a little bit, but Bob, what are your thoughts?
What, on the renovation?
Well, just, do you think we ought to leave the park the way it is, or do you think we ought to just continue to work on keeping it, you know, revitalizing?
Well, after the response
improving
we
it?
had from the 2020 survey, there was a lot of interest. I mean, I think we've got to build the park. Make it better than it is now. There's not a lot of equipment down there now. The one merry-go-round and the swings?
There's a slide and
Slide.
there's swings down there, yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah,
But they're used a lot.
that's old school playground
It
equipment.
is.
Yeah.
That's
And if they're using it, just think what new stuff would get
Yeah.
used.
But I think we have gotten enough response from the community. They wanted to see it remain there
Yeah,
and fixed.
Mhm.
thanks, Bob. Tom?
I agree, I mean, I don't think we should elect to do or not do something based on where it's at. I mean, chances
Absolutely.
are the kids that use the equipment are gonna be less likely to damage
Good
it
point.
than somebody from outside
Good
the
point.
area. I mean, you know, you always take care of what's yours or what you have access to. But I think, you know, looking at advancing that park, I mean, that playground equipment during softball games and other games that are down there gets used. I mean, all the kids aren't playing are over there
Yeah.
Mm.
playing on the park equipment, so it's good for parents to be able to pay attention to the game versus their kids. And, so I think we should continue to look at improving that park and not, and it gets a lot of play with softball and stuff down there. I think abandoning it's not a good choice.
Thanks, Tom. Kelly?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I would like to see a narrow path from the parking area over there so handicapped children
Yeah.
also have access to that. There are a ton of people that park at the church and take their kids down past our house to go to Clay Street Park because that hill is brutal
Hmm.
going up from the backside. And so they always park down at the church and walk. And I just think that, you know, in our area, we have a handicapped population that we need to make sure that they feel included as well. So I think that that's important. One of the other things we talked about when we were down at the park was access to the trail from the park. Some kind of way for people to, you know, get up on the trail or come off the trail into the park. So I think, especially if on up the trail, there's gonna be some some primitive camping, you know, that might be a place where they wanna come down and just sit and watch a ball game, you know, hearing
Absolutely.
what's going on from the trails. So I think that that's something else that we should look at. When we had originally talked about the playground equipment, we talked about it down on the far side, on the trail side of the pavilion there. But I've heard some other ideas of putting it, you know, on the other side of the ball field, back closer to where you would walk to and from the parking area,
No.
rather than down where it has more of a possibility to get wet. So there's a lot of things that we could do
Sure.
down there. And as you know, a lot of people have also asked for more pickleball courts than what we have now. Those are very popular. We've already had people calling us about when are we putting up the nets for the pickleball.
I understand.
And I'm like, it's February.
But
And
it's
I
65 degrees.
know it's been so nice,
Yeah.
but it's still February.
We'll be
Ohio.
mowing our yards by March the way it's going.
I know. So I called Nate. Nate was like, "Listen, those things are on there so tight. If it thaws and
Yeah.
freezes,
Yeah.
they'll snap right
Yeah.
off. We gotta wait." So yeah. I mean, we're already getting a clamor of when can we get down there to play pickleball.
Sure.
So, you know, people are excited to use
Yeah.
it.
Nate, got any feedback?
No, I think they're all, I think my biggest concern last year was there was so many different ideas thrown out. I think as you and I talked
Yeah,
back
we're
then, we need to reset, prioritize what we
Sure.
wanna do and attack it that way as opposed to everybody keep their own darts. Let's get them all out,
Mhm.
get them a list and start working on it. I think everything you've said, I don't think there's anything that's out of line. It's just working out the details of all of them.
Speaking of pickleball nets, are there any like winter nets that you could use? It's
So I've seen
aren't
some
as
people
tight?
bring their own nets down
They
there.
do.
They
They
do.
do.
That would
just
be
have,
loose and
just
not.
on posts that they can, I don't know, they have a little base on them or something.
There are people that not only are bringing their own nets, but they are bringing their own tape to tape the tennis court, which they can
Oh,
adapt
to
into a
adapt.
pickleball court, or taping up their own court that's running parallel with the existing pickleball
Huh.
courts. That's how bad people want to play pickleball.
Mhm.
So if I can just kind of go back a little bit, I have a vision for the park. And it all starts with the moment that you park your vehicle. You know, a little over a year ago, there were people that were coming to me, and I think Nate and others, asking if there's any way that we could put some kind of a walkway from the parking lot to the baseball field because it was so spongy down there. And I reached out to Nate, and Nate, I don't know who did it on the street department. Rod, were you involved in that? But you guys put all that aggregate down, and it's still down there.
It's a bunch of grinding.
Yeah. And it has served the purpose, but we can do better than that. What was down there is a temporary, fix. And, it's been working out. What I envision is seeing a walkway that is handicap, friendly. And I had this vision of lights, like street lights, leading from the parking lot into the baseball field.
That's cool.
And I see the dugouts being painted,
Yeah.
or the concession stand being painted. I actually think that it actually looked pretty good. So I don't know if you guys painted that here, the actual concession stand and the restrooms.
It's been 2 or 3 years.
Okay,
Doing
because I didn't think they looked that bad. But I don't know what the interior of the concession stand looks like, and I don't know what the restrooms look like on the inside. And that's one thing that we talked about wanting to to look on the inside, but
Weston's pretty good. We remodeled those way back when Rick was still here.
okay.
10,000 spider webs in there.
I'm
And
sure.
they're locked unless somebody's using the place and they're unlocked.
But I see, the bench, where the kids, and adults that are playing softball, they need more room to sit as a team on both sides. I see the restrooms being, upgraded a little bit, maybe put another fresh coat of paint. And I'm willing to get my, paint shorts on, a t-shirt, and go down there and paint. Do whatever needs to be done. So to back up a little bit, we talked about an entrance way onto the trail. And we talked about a way for the people that are coming off the trail to go into the park. I spoke to Jen Halverston today, and I said, I want to pick your brain about something. And I mentioned there's an opening down there. I don't know if you all know where I'm talking about, but
Is it a
there's
path that they've already kind of?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's an opening. I'm sure it was intentional,
Mhm.
but it could probably be made a little bit wider. But the drop off is
Mhm.
rather
Steep.
scary.
Mhm.
So I said, if there's any way to lessen that drop off, that would be great. And she said, the good thing about it is there's already an opening there. We don't have to create one. So she was very open about wanting to work, with the village and us working with the park district to try to, clear up and make that opening safer, better. And I thought about these flower beds and everything else. I thought, that'd be a nice way to have the flower beds on both sides of that entryway and exitway. It'd be nice to incorporate something like that. So I told her when they have their next meeting to let me know. I'd be happy to show up and we can talk about things further. Tennis courts, pickleball courts, and basketball courts. What's down there right now? There's one tennis court, there's two pickleball courts. You've got the hardscape down there. You've got the flooring down there for another two pickleball courts that could run parallel to the existing pickleball courts. The problem with doing that is you encroach on the basketball courts or the basketball hoops. So I don't know if there's a way to turn those basketball rims around and so they're facing in a different direction, or if you just relocate those all together. But I don't think you can put more than two pickleball courts in there. So there is a demand for pickleball courts. I spoke to a gentleman today, I won't mention any names, but he said, Brad, the Amish population is growing when it comes to pickleball. So there is, it just seems like it just continues to be a growing concern for people that want to play down there. Because people are good, they'll play a game and then they'll step out and then another group will go in there and play. And he said sometimes you got people that go down there with their own nets and they tape things off and they'll play their own game down there. But if there was a way to, well, there is a way. It's whether or not this committee wants to pursue repainting the surface down there and then adding an additional two more pickleball courts to the already existing ones that are down there. And then eventually you'd have to add more fence down there. Do you have the
Where does the
pickleball
money
courts
come
at?
from that? Where does the fund?
Okay, so one of, like Nate mentioned earlier, Nate's gonna show the existing
Okay,
pickleball courts.
okay.
And so what I'm suggesting is if you put another pickleball court beside each one of those,
Mhm.
and somebody the other day, now at one of the at our council meeting, said that they thought there'd be room for two more, and I don't think that is going to happen. I don't think there's enough room based on the measurements that I've seen, but, anyway. So,
Thank you.
Andrew, you brought up, how is this gonna get paid for? Well, one of the things we ran into a problem with last year was the walkway from the parking lot to the baseball fields. The estimate was $90,000. And the grant money that was available was like $22,480. Plus there was a 25% match, so it was just under $30,000.
Who gave the estimate?
Schaefer Johnson, the owner.
Was it gonna be cement, or what were they gonna do?
It was an asphalt, it was 10-foot wide asphalt.
So that was the estimate that we had, and we decided to scratch the grant because there was no way they were gonna
Yeah,
fund
no.
that.
No.
So, does it need to be 10-foot wide?
Would we
I
get,
don't-
is that the
I
that's
wouldn't
typical
think-
side
I
of the
wouldn't think.
sidewalk? Is 10 foot the typical size of the sidewalk, 10 foot?
No.
That's
No.
a driveway size.
Yeah, it's a drive, yeah, why would it need to be that big?
I think the thought was multiple people's walking in and out at the same time. After a game, you got a crowd leaving, so it's not all.
Yeah, that's not
in a
gonna be a hundred,
typical residential neighborhood, 4 foot, usually 5 foot.
that's a sidewalk?
Yeah.
Well, I watch people, I mean, it's not gonna be a mob walking from their side to the, it's that many people leave a thing down there at one
Oh.
time?
When
After
when there's
games.
back-to-back games,
Yeah.
you have a group leaving, a group coming.
Well, yeah, my son played baseball and stuff, but you still don't need a driveway size.
I mean, Deer Run's parking lot is packed.
Yeah, that's
every-
true.
Every ball game. It's not just mom and dad anymore, it's mom, dad, grandma,
Yeah.
grandpa.
All their family reunions, I've
Yeah.
seen that, the
Yeah.
football games, the family get together.
It'd be nice to reach out and try to get another quote, maybe from somebody else, and, I mean, I don't know, is 8 foot wide enough, 6 foot wide enough for that area?
I mean, again, I think that you get quotes, sometimes people are willing to give discounts just for being part of doing something for the community.
Well,
We had to get an engineer's estimate.
Oh.
for the grant.
yeah.
You have to have that.
If you're gonna ask for grant money, then it's gotta be the way it is. Like, all the money to do the upgrades on the pickleball courts and the fence and all that was all tax dollars. That was not. We included that in the budget.
There's just
So,
there's no budget of any for the park, there's no money for parks.
We have money budgeted,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
How
how much.
much?
But
What's that come from so much comes from the general
it's in
fund?
there like
Yeah.
$10,000 or something.
Karen left this here. This year, there's 5,000 in contractual under the park line item
Mhm.
for tree removal, 45 for capital, and 10 for buildings and structures, and that was for the Clay Street restroom.
How does that get determined as to how much money gets given to the park?
So
council.
Council
appropriation,
decides that?
The budgeting and.
In the budget.
appropriations.
And
It's part of the
how,
budget.
when was the last time somebody decided to maybe give more money? When was
Well,
the
when we
last-
did those
Yeah.
upgrades, it was like 150, 170,000.
Mhm.
The upgrades at Clay Street,
The upgrades at airport,
when we did the
when we did the
pickleball thing and
pickleball
all
courts.
that.
Mhm.
Lighting.
Yeah, lighting,
different
yeah,
projects.
yeah, different projects. We just included them in the budget. Here you go. That's for you.
So Nate, do you know, if we wanted to get an estimate to have the same company that came in to do the pickleball courts, to repaint, restripe, nets, we could go back to them and say, what would it cost to
Mhm.
add 2 additional courts?
Yeah.
So,
Now, I will say, if we move the basketball hoops, you could easily get 4.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say, why, I think moving the basketball hoops.
we need to go down, Megan.
There's
I'm
plenty of
skeptical.
room there.
It's
Yeah.
deceiving.
Yeah,
The court's at 20 feet, and from the end of the fence to the end of the pavement is like 66.
That's how it shows.
mhm. So, yeah, we could easily fit four more in there.
Well, I think what we need to do is, we need to figure out what the expenses are down there, and then we need to focus on what expense we can go after for this grant money. So the
Yeah.
grant has to be submitted by June 1st.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, so they have not allocated the amount for homes, they haven't allocated the amount for any counties in the state of Ohio yet. And I checked yesterday and I didn't see that anything was updated. Did you check today, Nate? Nothing was, okay. So assuming that the allocation is going to be what it was, you know, similar to the last few years, probably about $23,000.
Okay,
And then there's a 25% match,
okay.
okay? So let's just, you know, talking numbers out loud, just under $30,000. What could we do with that money down there? And that's what our focus, I think, needs to be. You know, instead of, yeah, we've got a walkway we want to do, parking lot could be improved, but it's manageable at this point. We've got restrooms that we need work on, we've got, you know, all this other stuff. But we need to focus on one thing, and that's what we need to focus on for this grant. So I would like to go down the Rod and look at the restrooms. How do we improve that? How do we improve the concession stand? And whatever estimates, I need to reach out to people to say, come in and improve this, what would it cost? And then come back here and talk more about all these estimates that we've gotten, and then we need to focus on what direction we're gonna go. We're gonna go take to village council to make whatever improvements we feel are necessary down there. But the overriding focus is pickleball. It has been for the last couple years. So can we get this company that came in and give us an estimate of what it would cost? Just, I guess if we went down there and measured and they could put 4 pickleball courts in there.
And do away with basketball altogether?
Well, I don't feel good about that, because I know that there are kids that are gonna want to utilize that area. So whether they get repositioned, or, you know, we focus on another area for that. I don't want to discard them altogether.
Yeah, I don't like taking, I mean, we're still focusing on adults. We're just for pickleball
Well, and
adults.
there's people that are down there playing too, but
I agree. I think during the day, like during the summer, they're playing basketball.
Yeah.
Just kids.
Yeah.
If the nets are down the middle, that would divide those two basketball hoops. Could we not just leave them there? Do you see what I'm saying? It's going right in between the two basketball hoops. It's not like it's going right to the, see, there's gonna go right through in between the hoops. And so
So with 2 courts, I think we could easily do 2 courts. It'll be a little tight, but if we put a fence between them, I think they'd be okay with basketball.
You could do
pickleball.
that.
oh, doing them together.
Yeah, but if you go to the 4 new courts, there's no way you can
No.
have basketball there
No.
anymore.
How much would it cost to just, pour a pad for a new
That-
basketball
Yeah,
court?
that's something we talked about too, is kind of in the area behind the restrooms.
Yeah,
There's a pretty level area there. It wouldn't have to be a full court, you know,
right.
just a pad with a hoop would be a place to play basketball.
Yeah.
That's what I like that, I like that.
Yeah, because you don't really need the sports surface
No,
Right,
for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I mean, does the grant, I mean, we don't need, if we're looking at just repainting, are you thinking about using the grant for repainting the pickleball courts? So I'm assuming we would need engineers' estimates for that.
I wouldn't think so.
I mean, just
It's already there, we would
So-
just need to,
maybe
Price
looking at
that
the walkway and rather than do asphalt, chip and seal would work.
I thought that too. Does it have to be asphalt?
Cause, you know, the trail, half of the trail is, chip and seal
Yeah.
and you see bikes and rollerblades and
Yeah.
stuff on it. They use the fine, you know, not like a township road, they use much finer gravel or actually limestone that you could easily get you know, it's not gonna stop a wheelchair or anything else.
Yeah.
mhm,
You know, and if you did 5 feet, it would be much less costly than 10 feet of asphalt.
mhm.
Yeah.
It's maybe a solution for
I don't know how narrow they can go with it now.
probably 6 feet, probably, so.
Pavers are usually 8 is the minimum,
I don't think it's 8 feet for the trail.
whole thing.
For the chip and seal side.
That's true. We just did the golf course too last year,
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that was asphalt, yeah.
That's asphalt.
Yeah.
but those are pretty narrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Oh, yeah.
I'm
narrow.
just trying to think how they,
That's narrow.
because some of our alleys they've had, I wonder if they just rented a paver, a smaller one to do it.
Oh.
They-
Typically Melwood couldn't do,
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
got, some of our alleys were a little iffy for them to be able to get into them, and none of them were that narrow.
Yeah, but they do the trail and it's,
Yeah.
I mean, they had the last bid to do it.
So can we reach out to this engineer firm and have them maybe redo this with the thoughts that we've discussed here at the meeting and come back and revisit that?
I'm willing to paint and scrub. I mean, if there's
am
some of
too,
us that are
yeah.
willing to do that, we could do some upgrades down there without it
Mhm.
costing us anything.
Sure.
I'll buy paint,
Absolutely.
you know?
I don't know, as far as the toilets and the sinks, if they need to be removed and,
Okay.
if they're okay.
Because toilets are fairly new
Okay,
from the COVID,
Mm.
okay, all right,
so we'll get on that.
okay. But I agree with Callie, I'm willing to go in there and paint the exterior, whatever needs to be done. It needs to be as inviting as it can be so that people take advantage of that and, yeah. So,
One thing I will say is that estimate included going from the parking lot to the ball field, to the pavilion, over to the pickleball court. It's much more than what was there, or is there now. Thought was if we're gonna put it in, let's make it go
Accessible to
everywhere. So
everywhere.
if wants, wheelchair wants to go sit in the pavilion, they can easily get to it. So I would probably encourage us to do that again, either way.
Yeah, but see if us get it cheaper.
Yeah,
shrink the width.
yeah.
Scoreboard still needs fixed down there.
That's not ours. That's not, that baseball or softball, whoever.
I thought they donated it.
They got it donated. We put it up for them, but that's on them to fix.
Rodney, you can do that, can't you?
That's not all Rodney. Rodney, you won't come to any more meetings. Bob starts volunteering you for
I
stuff.
did talk to one of the board members last weekend, Sunday. Down there, they wanna add a window to the, I guess it'd be the east wall of the concession stand. So if you're in the concession stand, you can't see the
Oh.
field.
Yeah.
They
That's
just
true.
wanna be able to see the field.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that, they've got a window, they've got a guy to do it. And then they also talked about moving the bleachers if we could. I told them we'll have to go look at that, cause they're on pads. The other thing that they've talked about, the small field is virtually unusable, it's so wet all the time.
Is what
Mhm.
The outfield, I guess the area between the outfield and the parking lot, is there any chance of putting a T-ball field there? Like home plate would be towards the parking lot, so the fields would back up to each other. There's plenty of room for it.
Or when you're talking, it stays pretty dry.
It's, yeah, it's one of the better areas down there. But that old field is just, you get off the infield part and it's wet. It seems like it's always wet.
Last year, there were lots of kids playing back there during the other organized games.
Yeah.
It was dry then, last
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah,
Well, it's mostly on the infield though, not in the
Well,
outfield.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause the infield's good.
Yeah.
It's up a little bit, but you get off of that.
My daughter would have found a mud puddle.
Oh, yeah.
So you're basically talking about reversing the
Pretty
T-ball
much.
field?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just bringing it out. They need, I tell you, obviously I got kids in it, but they're, we're always fighting over places to play and practice. Last year, the T-ball team I coached, our kids didn't get on a field till our first game, because they weren't available for practice. That's fine, they're young,
Yeah,
they just thought it was cool to be playing ball.
Would that be a big deal for us to put a field in for the T-ball
know,
kids?
I don't know that it would. Strip the topsoil or the sod.
So
And,
you just have to be big enough to ball.
and I think pretty much you just need the infield for T-ball. You don't really need
Yeah,
the whole.
they're not hitting it over the fence.
Yeah, just grass.
Couple benches and some fence going along the fence line, or
The
baseline.
base, yeah.
The backfield fence needs painted or replaced. It's pretty rusty.
Yeah, on the main field, yeah. Some of the guys did, was that last summer you guys touched up that fence?
Yeah, a little bit.
Some of the kids we had working for us.
Mhm.
So if I was to recap what we talked about, we were looking at getting a new estimate for the walkway, looking at the buildings that are down there, see how we can improve the existing buildings, getting a new estimate or an estimate to add on an additional, say, 4 pickleball courts. And then possibility of relocating the basketball hoops to the area over by the restrooms, and it wouldn't have to be a full court, it could just be, I don't know how, if you call it like a half court type.
It'd be nice if you could have two baskets, but maybe not
on each
necessarily
end, on
one
each
rim.
end.
Yeah.
And that way you can,
It's not
Pick up
regulation,
games.
it's not
Yeah.
regulation, but they think.
Right.
But they
Like a
can
regular
play.
game, it's just-
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Doesn't have to be
And then-
regulation.
yeah.
I would continue to have a dialogue with the park district about the entry off the trail into the park. So what does this committee feel like when it comes to reaching out to the community and asking for donations? And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but, you know, I would hope that by the next meeting, we have a better idea of what it would cost to make the airport park the way we feel it needs to be utilized, and the cost associated with that. And maybe we can have more discussion about the whole donation thing later too, but
I guess this is my take on if the community would not step up to the plate. Everybody talks about a community center, a place for all the kids to play, a place for all the kids to do that. Well, an outside place is still a kind of it's still a place for kids to do, people to do things. So why wouldn't the community help to do that? That would be, I mean, why does it have to be, you know what I mean? If I think you could get donations. I think that Holmes County, I think they're good about wanting stuff for the kids.
I think if we come up with a dollar amount and
A
say,
goal.
this is what we wanna do and this is what it's
Yeah.
gonna cost us.
They could know
And then
what they
have
want.
that
Yes,
to
because
say
I think
this
they
is
don't
what
want
we
to just
need.
give,
Right.
I barely could get gift baskets for an HDM thing unless I'm explaining what, you know, this is what we're trying to promote.
Right.
This is what the plan is. This is what, to trust that.
well, and there's another grant in November. It's the
okay.
it's the big grant.
Okay,
And the biggest amount that they award is up to $500,000, and it's a 50% matching grant. So, which I think it's beyond what we're looking at, but I think the minimum is 50,000, and it can go up to 500,000. So that's something else to think about down the road. But so I would like to regroup when we have a better idea of when we get these estimates. I don't want to get together again before we have the estimates, but I think we need to keep moving on this because June 1st is going to be here
Yeah.
before too
March,
long.
we're 2 months away.
And we need
Three.
to, and Nate, if there's something I can do to help, let's make a phone call and say, this is what we're thinking about doing. I'd be happy to do that. So,
Here's something else that we might wanna look at or think about what they could do. And that is, I know the Christian Church, I know New Point, both look, they have community project weekends, and they're both looking for projects to do, so
mm,
if we could identify a couple of things, you know, paint the outside of the restroom,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Grace Church
They-
did that.
They
Grace
would do it,
Church
yeah.
did, tried to do
I
that, to
mean-
help clean up people who wanted to do that, you're
Right.
right. Many
And
of
they look for
churches.
projects to do to keep, you know, you got 50 people and 20 are doing a job that 2 people
Two
can do,
people,
but
could-
you're
yeah,
all doing it because.
because they
you all
don't know
wanna
what else to do.
are they primarily projects where people are basically putting in their sweat equity? It's not something necessarily that the church would spend money?
No, it's sweat equity.
It's sweat equity, okay.
Yeah, like last year, I mean, we cleaned up the downtown area a couple of weeks before the
Yeah.
Antique Festival, I mean,
Put mulch in and
Yeah,
stuff like
okay.
that.
you know,
Mhm.
but, you know, if you pick, you know, hey, we need this done, and, you know,
Sure.
I know that we do.
Scouts that are looking for,
Well, see, Andrew, I
Yeah.
thought about the whole scout, like the Eagle Scout
Yeah.
thing for like a project
Yeah.
for the entryway.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, I mean, look at the amphitheater.
Yeah.
Look what,
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
look what we got from the amphitheater.
Well, the dog, what, we got
And
the
the dog-
seats at the dog park.
Right.
I mean, we've gotten a
I
lot of
mean,
things
It-
from
I-
Eagle
I
I don't
Scout
think
projects.
it's, I don't think it's child abuse or slave labor. They get, that's what they're
That's
wanting
what they
to.
do.
Look at the
Some of projects
amphitheater
that-
now.
Yeah, I know.
I'm thinking gives them that chance
Sure.
to be a part of a legacy of Mil, I mean, that amphitheater now, that girl will always be.
Yeah.
That
think-
we then the community. I mean, when the veterans wanted to put a flag, when the veterans wanted to stick that memorial thing up there, they had no problem with this community stepping up to the plate
That's
and
right.
donating money.
That's right.
You just gotta outline what it is you wanna do.
Absolutely,
That's
there was a
right.
plan.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
there was a plan.
Yes.
If you give a
There's-
plan and they think that people see where
Yeah.
that there's a thing, they want to be a
Who,
part
who
of it.
would have thought that there'd be a skate park out there?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and
So look, so our vision now is that little. Now we're
all those little chunks of real estate are getting
Yeah.
used up for
Yeah.
cool things in the community, so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all I have on my agenda. And I like the way this is going. I appreciate the feedback. I'd love to see people here from the community to participate in that, and maybe at the next meeting, but, you know, we'll keep in touch. Hopefully we have some information soon, and then we can regroup, talk this out, and then decide for certain, how we're gonna approach this grant, so.
Well, what you might wanna consider is weather breaks, is our next meeting, have it at the park. Because
Absolutely.
That did draw people.
That, we had a lot of people
Oh,
at that
that's
park
a good
meeting.
idea.
I wanted to have it at the park this
Yeah.
time,
Good-
but.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't have been
I'm
there.
glad you did it.
Yeah.
But you know what? That guy was there and said he would be willing to put the roofs on. I mean, that happened
That's-
at
that's
that
how
meeting.
happened, yeah.
So yeah, at the park. I
Yeah.
agree. The next meeting.
We used to have it for several things.
Yeah, yeah. So,
So there's a motion to adjourn,
I'll make a motion.
okay,
Second.
second by Tom, all in favor signify by saying aye.
I.
Aye.
Same sign if you're opposed.
Aye.
Fine, you